Hey, what's up, guys? It's Double Zug. This is going to be a Siege of Boralus guide. So for Siege, what I would run is I run Totemic for Siege. I just really like Surging Totem and Deluge, particularly on the higher keys where you're going to get a lot of damage on those pull-ins. I would run Poison Totem, Curse Dispel, and Totem Recall. Everything else is basically standard. The reason I run Poison Totem is just because the Deadly Poison by the second boss can really truck the tank, and I think it's worth just having Cleansing Totem just for that with Recall. Recall is just nice throughput for Totemic because you can recall an HST, and you can also recall your Poison Cleansing Totem if you want to, or any kind of like utility totem. You can also swap something for Windrush if you want a Windrush, but I just don't really run it personally. For the build, I run HST over Cloudburst on Totemic most of the time. I just prefer it. So let's get into the run. You can see this is the same pug as I ran in the Stone Vault. We just decided to send another key, which is really nice because all these plays are pretty good. You can see for this first pull, we do Lust for these bombers. Probably not like the greatest Lust here, honestly. I think we do chain some of it into the next pull, but you kind of just want to get your Lust on CD, honestly. So we could probably like pull this up, maybe. I don't know if that's possible, and then Lust, but you can see I think we do get a little bit of value. These ones you can just kind of stop, knock them up, stun them, etc. They're not really that dangerous. This is like the much more dangerous pull up here. The Raiders are going to do like the suck in ability. This used to be able to line up with this frontal, which could like mega troll you. But for this suck in, you can see there's a 25-second CD on it, I think. Just track this and try to always have like healing prepped for that pull in, so that when you do get pulled in, you can instantly like top the group while you're running out of the AoE. These bolts are good to stop and kick as well as the shield cast. It's really the only caster in the group though, so it's not a huge deal. You should be able to kick it pretty consistently. For Shaman, it's super easy, right? You put your Surging Totem down or your Healing Rain down on the Raider, and then as you get pulled in, you just downpour, and then maybe send like an HST chain heal to top the group. But like on other healers, like maybe you want to have your Beacon of Virtue prep for that. You want to have like some HOTS out on a Druid, etc. So yeah, that's really the dangerous ability there is that pull in. So on higher keys, even like 12s, maybe you might even need defensives for it on squishier players. So you might need to like pre-downpour and stack your healing buff. This pull here, not super dangerous. Just these bombers, the firebomb ability can kind of chunk. You can see I have like the targets on my cast bar. This is super important. If you see a bunch of mobs targeting the same player with a cast, you can always you can swap your Earth Shield to them. You can pre-cast a heal. You just try to be heads up with who the mobs are actually targeting. This is more important later in this dungeon as well, with like the sniper mobs that can like channel shoot on somebody, and then if they all target the same person, they can like literally one shot. These pulls here, not too dangerous, just kind of a repeat of like the second pack in the boss with a Wave Shaper, a Raider, and some random mobs. Just try to get kicks on the Wave Shaper, and obviously, one thing to mention about the Raider pull-in is you don't want to be too far away from this mob. The further away you are, the longer the animation takes to get pulled in, and if you're too far away, you can get pulled, and the mob will channel like that AoE, and you can just not really have enough time to actually run out of it and just die. So you want to play super close. It's also really better this way because people will be playing inside of your healing rain as well. Just a tip for like any DPS players, if you're inside the healing rain, you're like 50 times tankier than if you're outside of it, especially because you can get that deluge cast on you. But yeah, these packs are really not super dangerous. I just wouldn't double up on these because unless you desync the Raider pull-in perfectly, you can get an overlap and just instantly die. You can see my mana's pretty healthy here, 70%. There's not that much damage going out here, so just try to be a little bit defensive with your mana because you can chain pull this into the boss and not have to drink. You can see our damage is pretty strong here. We have a Mage, Unholy, and a Ret who are all blasting, so these packs are dying pretty quick. I'm telling the tank he can just send. Even though that 70% mana here, this boss just really does not do that much damage. You can see there I put my healing rain down right as we get pulled in and just instantly deluge. This boss can be a little bit annoying. I think we actually might wipe here to someone not soaking a bomb. I actually think we do wipe on this boss here. So super important that if you get fixated, obviously you run to the bombs, and if the bomb is about to go off, you want your tank to just run over and soak it. You can see here I get fixated and I just pull him right to this bomb. What before the fixate goes out, and he gets a damage buff here as well, so you can kind of send some damage into him. See, I'm doing that there. But after this pull, he's going to fixate, so just try to position yourself next to a bomb. You can see I run behind it, and I get fixated, and I just instantly pull him into the next one. This bomb over here, I think this actually does go off in this pull, and I think we wipe, if I'm remembering correctly. I ping it, but I don't actually go soak it myself, which I probably should have done. And yeah, it does go off here and just kill everyone. So we do time this key, despite this wipe, because I think the rest of the key is super clean. So if the tank just dies, we respawn and run back. Not the hugest deal. You can, the timer is lenient enough here that we wipe like halfway through this boss, and we still time it. So if I was playing better there, I could have actually just gone and like pressed wall and absorb totem and probably just soak that myself. Now we actually do, we ass pulled this pack over here as well. So this is just a chain of errors. So you can see you can make some mistakes in these 11s and still time the key. So if you're in a pug, like just you don't have to instantly leave the group. If you wipe once to a boss, if the group is good, like you can still time the keys. If this was a 12, we probably wouldn't have timed it, but on 11, there's room to make some errors here. So we kill this pack. Again, this is just a 2 pull, so nothing really to mention here.
2, 1.
Again, you can see I try not to ever cast Chain Heal unless I have High Tide, and I have a weak aura here that just tells me that I can Chain Heal when I have all my buffs up for it, and I pretty much just don't press Chain Heal unless I see all those buffs up. So you can see here, I get the first fixate. On this first fixate, I just try to like run around in circles and keep him kind of central, so that wherever the bombs spawn, he's not like off in Africa somewhere. This one I'm not quite quick enough to get, I don't think, which I probably could have gotten that one if I was a little bit better, but I did run around a little bit too much there. You can see here we're getting that affix, we're just cleaving it down, trying to drag the adds into the boss. We get pretty well positioned bombs here. You can see I'm positioning myself next to this one, so if I get fixated, I'm just right there. Actually, I run to this one, actually. So just as long as you're positioning yourself near a bomb, not a huge deal. And you can see the tank does end up soaking that one, just for safety. So we learned our lesson. We're doing this boss pretty clean. Now, you can see I'm putting my healing rain down, trying to get it so that all the enemy mobs are inside of it, just for that acid rain benefit. You're probably not going to have your DPS and your healing rain on this boss, just because they're going to be running around with like chickens with their heads cut off, but you can just try to use it for damage as much as you can. You can see here, I see where these bombs are spawning, and I should try to position myself near them. Oof, we do get him getting hit by that fixate, so not perfectly clean here, but again, we do time this, so you can make a couple of mistakes in these 11s and still time them, especially if your damage is good enough, which this group is cranking. You can see we have like everyone at over 1 million single target. I'm doing like 300k, which is okay, and then we have the tank doing 650, which is pretty good. You can see the tank soaking that last bomb. You can kind of ignore these ads once you get the boss to a low enough percent. You can see here, I don't even drink. I'm at 75% mana, so I really didn't even need to do that much healing on that boss at all. My mana's almost full. These shredders actually crank the tank, and this is part of the reason why I take Curse Dispel, is just to be a little bit safer with these Curse Blades in this section, where if you stack up all this damage on the tank, plus that Curse, you can really like have the tank get globaled. You can see here he has his last stand running, and I'm just cranking single target healing into him. You can also stop the Singing Steel but I'm just like not taking globals off of spamming single target heals to send any stops. This charge is not super dangerous. You can see there it does actually chunk him quite a bit through wall. And but as long as you should try to have like a pre-cast heal into it. So like you can see the countdown if you have it on your raid frames or on your weak ores or whatever. You can see I try to pre-cast a heal into it. There I did send my wall, so not super dangerous. But yeah, I try to have like a surge precast so that it hits right when the first tick goes off. Because if it gets 2 ticks off before a heal goes out, it can be very dangerous. You can see there I precast. A little bit late on that one, but not too bad.
Spell reflection.
And then again, we're just sending our healing rain on the raider and having some healing prepped for that pull in. Obviously, run out of the AOE of this if you can. I believe he just invised that, so you can. I think you can like meld it. You can invis it, and it won't like retarget. So ideally, I should be a night elf or a dwarf, but again, I'm a Tauren boy. So try not to die to this. It's actually super easy to lose 15 seconds to this stupid thing if you just aren't careful. Warriors can just kind of leap to the end and stop the thing instantly, but I've been in so many groups where we've lost 15, 30 seconds to just 2 deaths randomly to this stupid hallway, so just be careful. The spotter and the shooters die super quick here. So this pull is like not dangerous at all. And then we just run past these curse blades here. I think these can sometimes bug out and like make you forced to be in combat if you pull them. So I just run past them and never really had problems. You can chain some of these curse blades into this pull, but I guess we just don't need it for the count, so no big deal there.
Countered.
You can see there I run in to get Deluge on myself. We're all pretty stacked here, so super nice for Deluge.
Anti-magic shell. Spell reflection.
One other thing to mention is if you have a prot warrior, try to track spell reflection. You can see I have like a sound cue when he does cast spell reflection that just says spell reflection, and try not to kick into it on spell reflectable abilities. It just kind of, you're wasting your kick and also you're, you know, stealing some damage from the warrior. I'm not really the greatest at it, honestly. I just reflex kick a lot into spell reflect, and it's kind of bad, so yeah, again, you can see here, this is like one of the pulls where the Curse Dispel is really nice to have. Although he's just fully topped here, so I don't even dispel it until the end there. For this artillery, the best way to reduce movement is just you just run to right at the edge and then wait for another one to drop and then run to the very edge. Just to minimize your movement. Again, you can also just Spirit Walker's Grace like I did there, and it doesn't really matter if you have to move, but if you don't have anything like that, you can always just minimize your movement that way. So this next boss here is not too hard. Really, the biggest problem on this boss is going to be Ricochet. Ricochet does a huge amount of damage, so try to have a healing CD for specifically that. And again, try to have people play in your healing rain.
Spell reflection.
You can see here, I just kind of power through it with wall and an HST, and people use their defenses on the first one, so I don't need to send a CD there. But after, like, if people don't have defensives up, you just want to send, like, a Tide or a AG or Send or something like that, or even Link. It can be quite dangerous. You can see there where it lines up with the movement thing, where if you get, like, if the healer gets that, like, bombardment ability and has to move while healing through the ricochet, that can be quite dangerous. But you can see there I just kind of healed through it, no problem. So these ads don't really do anything. You can just kind of press chain lightning or press damage on them. And again, try to have people inside of your healing rain if possible. And I believe someone like has to be in range of the boss or it'll cast this like big bleed shoot thing. If that does go out, you just have to blast single target healing into it. So you can see here, I think I press, yeah, I do end up pressing Tide here to just safely heal through that ricochet. Try to wait to press your tide until somebody's taken damage so you don't waste the free chain heal you get from your, like, totem thing, whatever it's called. Same thing is true of HST. You don't want to drop an HST into a fully topped group just because you're wasting the whole value of that free chain heal. So this is simple, just dodge swirlies here, no big deal. Dodging frontals, keeping my healing rain down. You can see I just totemic project my healing rain to get some people to get a deluge before this ricochet goes out. One goes on the tank though. If one of the ricochets goes on the tank, it just makes it 50 times easier to heal, because it's 2 targets instead of 3. You can see this ricochet lines up with a bombardment, but I get a deeply rooted elements proc, so not a huge deal there. So again, this is another one of those like hallway things where you can very easily lose 15-30 seconds if people are just trolling and don't. You can see there the DK just almost dies to it as well. Just play safe on this. There's no reason to be risky here, especially in a pug. Dying and losing 15 seconds is actually like a huge deal, honestly. So we have Lust here, and I don't think we actually send Lust. We probably should just send Lust on this trash, but we just don't for some reason. I think we end up using it on the second boss, or the third boss, which is probably bad. We should probably just send it here and then use it on the last boss again. These packs are not that dangerous. Just try to get kicks on the pillager, but again, it's not that big of a deal if you don't get kicks on the pillager. Try to stop them when they flee like this, just with the stun. You can see the Pallyhooges there. But you just want to have some healing up for the AoE smash here.
3, 2, 1. AoE.
Last counter. Anti-magic shell.
So you can see her pretty easily healing through the AoE without CDs. Just with like Deluge and some chain heals. Really nice that my team is stacked up here in the healing rain. It's very helpful.
Countered.
On a higher key where this is like potentially a one-shotting, you really do want to have your Deluge up and then just like rotate defensives or healing CDs. You know, like have personals on one and then link on the next.
3, 2, 1.
You can see they're just getting kicks on those pillagers. I could be sending my cap here in my knock, but I'm just focusing on doing healing throughput. You can see I get a deeply rooted elements proc there, which is really nice. Just instantly tops the group. I just really like that capstone. I think it's quite powerful. I know it's getting like a 1% nerf or something in the 10.0.5 patch, but I still think it's really good in M+. You're just sending so many Riptides all the time that you're going to get really consistent procs, and if it ever does end up lining up with a damage effect, it can usually save you a healing CD use that you can use later. So you could probably chain into this next pack here pretty safely, but say la vie. I don't run Tremor here. I just don't think it's worth.
2, 1. AoE.
And the tank here is talking. I think we actually do end up sending Lust on the like sniper guys because they are quite dangerous.
2,
and then we do have it up for the last boss. This pack coming up here is like one of the most dangerous in the entire dungeon. I think we might even have a death to it, honestly.
Embrace who you truly are.
This pack is not too bad. Some kicks, but honestly, you could miss all your kicks here and just heal through it. No big deal.
Countered.
This disease does not do that much damage. You can see there's a double stack on the tank, and he's just being healed through it pretty easily. I think I hit some bananas here, which is, you know, obviously try not to hit some bananas. Yeah, I hit 2 bananas. They're kind of hard to see on the ground. They're
Anti-magic
kind of the same
shell.
color as the ground too, so just be careful there. You can see I almost get hit by that because I get caught on this fence. And we do end up losing the mage who gets...
Shield wall.
you can see here if they're all targeting the same person, like all there, they're all targeting the paladin, but he has his had a defensive up, so he didn't
Divine
die.
shield.
You can see here they're split,
Drop.
and here there's 2 on me, which is
Protection.
quite bad, but we just stop it. Here they're all in the paladin again, but they get stopped. So if you see them all lining up on one player, just, you know, send any kind of externals you have, because they can all line up and one-shot someone super easily. So very important to have like a targeting spell tracker there where you can see who they're targeting.
Anti-magic shell.
2.
You can see there his AMS absorbs the entire charge. So if you're a DK, you're like the
Counter.
tankiest class ever and just use your AMS there. But again, on 11 here, it's not super necessary if we're just single pulling this to even defensive the charge, because I can just heal through it pretty easily. This shout here is important to kick, but it's the only kick in the entire pack. So again, you're going to be pretty easily getting that if just one person in the group kicks. You can see I get this here. I'm just trying to position so that I don't hit anybody else. I wall it, but
Countered.
not super necessary because the mob just dies before it goes off. So this is the spot here where this is the reason why I bring the poison cleansing totem. You can see this deadly poison that's stacked up on the tank. It actually hits really hard at 5 stacks.
Shield
So
wall. Last stand.
you can see I just sent my poison cleansing totem there once
Countered.
it's stacked up to 5. And I think I did recall my poison totem. No, I didn't end up
Countered.
recalling my poison totem. So you can like send your poison totem and then recall it and then send a second one.
Countered.
But I don't end up doing that here. Yeah, these packs, this pack here and the pack that's like over to the left are very, very dangerous packs for the tank specifically if you don't have a cleanse for that poison. But this warrior is,
Spell reflection.
you know, he's cranking. He's not taking very much damage. He's playing his defenses correctly and stuff, so not too huge of a deal on this one.
Shield wall.
This pool has snipers and a raider, so you really want to stop those shoots when the raider is about to pull in so you don't get an overlap. But there's only 2 snipers, so they're not as dangerous, even if they line up. You can see I'm sneaking in some drink ticks here, but then as soon as the
Countered.
tank gets in combat, I cancel the drink.
Countered.
This pack does not have snipers in it, but it does have some quite significant tank damage again, so be careful on the tanks on this pull. This next boss as well just does very low damage, honestly. It just, there's like some pulsing AoE, but besides that, there's like no rot at all in the group.
Shield wall.
So you can go into this fight with low mana, and it doesn't really matter.
Anti-magic shell. Countered.
So you can see we go into this fight with the tank having 5 stacks of poison. And you can see I think I typed to just send it. Yeah, I just say send it.
Bait.
So I'm going to sit a couple of ticks here. But the tank could have just instantly pulled there and we would have been just fine because this is like the only thing in the entire fight that does damage, and it's like once every 20 seconds, so you have a huge amount of time to just heal the group up. You can see there like 1 chain heal and an HST
Bait.
and just my healing rain. Heal the entire group. So this is this mechanic is like pretty easy if you just bait the pools in the right spot. You just run to the other side of the
AoE.
statue. There's like no damage going out there too, so you don't even need to heal at all during that part of the fight. You can just focus completely on dodging. And try to bait the puddles away from the middle statue. But even if you don't, you can kind of just stand in them or like hop up onto the statue away from where the puddle is, and you shouldn't really have too much trouble with this mechanic. You know, you do have to hope that your DPS actually do it correctly though, so that's always the biggest part of this fight is just hoping that your DPS and your tank make it to the right spot. So you can see there I move my HS or my healing rain to the right spot. As soon as this last wave goes, you want to run away from the statue so that you bait these puddles out.
Reflection.
But again, you can see this whole time I'm staying at like 100% mana just because there's no damage to heal. This is like a super easy
Bait.
healer boss. On higher keys where the AoE pulse actually will kill you, you might have a little bit more trouble. Just you have to schedule like defensives and stuff. But here, like, you can see it just does not do that much damage at all. I could probably be doing more damage here, but not the hugest deal to miss some globals doing like lava burst or whatever.
AoE.
Anti-magic shell.
You can see my group is doing a pretty good job of playing in the healing rain, but the mage is out of it, which is a little bit of a bummer. But again, he's like using his defensives correctly, so not a huge deal. There's a massive difference I've felt in pugs between mages that actually use their buttons defensively and mages that don't. It's just like actually huge. Like mages that do use their buttons correctly feel like totally immortal, and mages that don't feel like pretty fragile and die a lot, so try to hope that you get in your pugs good mages. Be super careful on this part. I've died multiple times to these stupid swirlies, especially here, like jumping over this way. You can sometimes get clipped and die, and it just is terrible, and you lose 15 seconds, and you can actually like break a key just by having 2 people die to this stupid puddle. This boss is quite difficult to heal if your group does not, again, press their defensives correctly. The dot does a huge amount of damage. So again, try to have, like, you can see on my raid frames and my weak wars, it will sometimes try to correctly detect who's getting targeted by the dot.
AoE.
But there's one thing I'll mention here, which is that, well, first of all, try to have the entire group topped up after this AoE, because if someone's at, like, 70% and they get the dot, they can just instantly die.
Reflection.
You can see there, the tank rallies there, and also the DK used his wall, so he just took, like, 0 damage from it. But this dot is, like, a group wiper. And you can also try to have, like, a heal precast. You can see that our group is doing a good job of being spread, so I just am instantly sending Dispel. But if you're in a pug where people aren't really spread as much, it can be kind of dangerous to just instantly send the Dispel. So try to have yourself in the right position, and if you are in the right position, instantly Dispel yourself and then hard cast on the other person.
Anti-magic shell.
When it's on the tank, I usually just leave it on the tank. For the most part. It just doesn't do enough damage to be that significant. You see there, I Dispel it, but I'll have my Dispel up by the time the next dot comes out. One other thing to mention here is that you can see how my Uyghur are telling me the dot isn't coming. You can also see who the dot is going to target by looking at the little white globs that come out of the boss. They will tell you exactly where it's going towards. Like if you can see them flying through the air. I'll mention it here. You should be able to see it in this next dot. So you can see those white globs that come out for the swirlies. You can see here.
AoE.
Let's actually back up a little bit. You can see they come out for the swirlies, and then you can see these little white globs will fly towards the target of the dot. That one went on the tank, so I just instantly dispelled myself. Also, if it goes on you and you have defensives, and it goes on another DPS, I would just dispel the other person, because you can be assured that if you're playing correctly, you're going to use your defensives, but you never know if they're going to use their defensives. So, yeah, just don't count on the other player to use their defenses. If you have the opportunity to use yours, just use them and dispel the other person. This boss did get like 50 times easier with the changes though, where you can't get a lineup of the knockback and the swirlies and the dot.
Enter.
While you're running here, you can see this paladin is correctly just waiting for me to keep him topped and for my dispel to come off CD. If you get the dot and you just kind of like charge out of range of your healer, you can just instantly die, and it's pretty bad. So that guy was playing super well there, and correctly weighted for me to dispel him, which is very helpful.
Anti-magic shell.
As a ranged or a
Reflection.
healer, you can go up on these steps and you can never get swirlies.
Shield wall.
The only problem with going up on these steps is that you sometimes have line of sight issues down here. You can see there I just send Lust because it's called for.
Spell
So you can
reflection.
have some LOS issues up here, but
AoE.
you can see there I wall it, so I dispel the other guy, but he also
Last
sends his
step.
wall, so not really it's too much gain there. But yeah, I think it's worth as a healer to just play on these steps. You can also avoid the knockback by just like putting your back to this mast here.
Anti-magic shell.
See here, I get targeted by the dot, so I run out and dispel myself. And we're just going to kill this with like about a minute left, so we're actually pretty safe here, even though we had that wipe and a couple of deaths. So you can really time even like up to 11s, even if you wipe, if you just play clean the rest of the pull. So, you know, there's no reason to like rage quit
Divine
on the
shield.
very first mistake in these pugs, which I see a lot of people doing. But yeah, you can see that I don't get any score from this because I think I already timed an 11, but super clean run. You can see everyone's actually like gassing each other up. So it'd be good to just be complimentary to your pugs when they play well. There's no reason not to make friends. So that's Siege. Really not that hard of a dungeon. I see a lot of people complaining about Siege,
Magic shell.
and I don't really know exactly why, to be honest. People just don't like this dungeon, but I feel like it's not that hard of a key, especially after the changes to the last boss. It feels very, very doable from my perspective as a healer, honestly. So yeah, thanks for watching.
Swobu, Zug Zug.